So, welcome to today's episode of The Art of Feeling Better. I am joined in this really pretty little location, because it's not raining, so it's good, by my mate Chris. And I'm not going to do a big, massive intro because I want you to do the intro when I start asking you the questions about who you are and your story and why we're chatting today. But we've had a couple of really good conversations since we met, haven't we? Yeah. So we're going to talk about all the tough bits that people tend to not talk about, because that's kind of how I roll. So we're on the same path, aren't we, of trying to break down some boundaries and trying to raise awareness and just get people thinking and talking and feeling about the stuff that they would normally run away from or keep repressed. So we're going to talk about things like ADHD, school, that fun and games around the education system. We're going to talk about meds, addiction, mental health, all that kind of stuff that people don't talk about. So we're in for a fun ride today. So I guess my first question to talk about is just give me a little bit of background, wherever you want to start around your story, because I know what you do now, the incredible work that you're doing now, but I know that came from the back end of a lot of challenge and a lot of difficulties sort of growing up. So just fill me in on your background.
So I had what I thought was quite a normal childhood, like very supportive parents, stuff like that. But I always felt like different. Like I didn't fit in normal society. Fast forward a fair few years. At 29, I actually looked at getting an ADHD diagnosis because my ex at the time was like, have you ever looked into ADHD?
29 is quite late on, isn't it? That?
Yeah, I hadn't. I'd already looked at like anxiety, depression, BPD, bipolar, stuff like that. Like I'm quite clued up on everything because I've done all my research.
Yeah.
Never looked into ADHD. I thought it was just a naughty boy in school. I wasn't actually naughty in school.
It's a label though, isn't it? Naughty kids. Yeah. That's what ADHD is.
I was even under the influence that, bloody hell, surely I don't fit into any of them categories. And then obviously the more research I did, I was like, that's me.
Literally, we're just lining up.
Yeah, like everything. I was just like, oh my God, like things are starting to make sense.
Wow.
Fortunately, I was fortunate enough to be able to go private, so I didn't have the massive waiting list. And it was just before the big explosion of people wanting a diagnosis because of all the everything you could get out and you could see. What am I trying to say? It's like before the explosion of like.
It's become very current, hasn't it? Yeah, everything's hashtagged, isn't it? And everybody's now, we were talking about this just before, everyone's now reaching for, which is good and bad. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm reaching for the labels. So it's probably before anything was talked about.
Yeah. So mainstream. So there was a few people on TikTok and stuff I started following. Funny enough, they're quite good friends of mine now, through the work that I've done with Attentive. And it just sort of went from there then. A year after, I got a borderline personality disorder diagnosis, which I now know came from not having my emotional needs met, not because of my parents did anything wrong. It's just they didn't know how to handle me, like when I was.
Well, they're going through their own shit. They've got their own journey.
Yeah.
100%. I can relate to
that. So not being diagnosed till later on in life was a massive trauma to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I got that diagnosed with BPD as well.
Was that through the same sort of journey? So you're already looking into things and looking into the ADHD route, and it all kind of just lead on to, because it's all connected, isn't it? So
so I always thought I was BPD anyway.
Did you?
Yeah, just from how explosive my anger can be.
Yeah, how you react.
How I react. Fortunately, that's under control a lot better now. But so obviously I went on medication, tried Ritalin, didn't like it. On Elvance, still on Elvance. I've reduced my dose now. And then I'm on, venlafaxine for my BPD, which to be fair, that's massive, like, because it's an SNRI and not an SSRI.
The difference.
The difference is massive. Like, I don't feel numb on it. I actually feel so much more chilled out and
just stable, stable. And so many people say that to me now, and I'm not the expert in this at all, although I'm trying to be, because I'm learning as I go. It's my passion. But a lot of people say the worst thing is being numb. And I know that one of my kids has got a similar experience. Some of the meds that are supposed to solve the problem just take away everything.
SSRIs.
SSRIs. Yeah. I think what they were on in their teens has now been banned.
Yeah, probably.
But it's just like,
sertraline seems to be the new one now.
Yeah, sertraline. Everyone's on sertraline, aren't they? Everyone.
It's bad.
Just take away everything and then you won't feel anything and you'll be better. Well, how does that work? You can just feel something. We said before, actually support to feel the shit. You get rid of it.
Quick fix though, isn't it, for doctors?
Quick fix and...
yeah, we sorted you.
Not that I'm going to get political, but we know it's the money. So it's a tough one, isn't it? Because when you're reaching out for something, you just need something. You need something to help and you just go, you're the professional.
But when you're on it as well, you don't seem to realise how bad it makes you.
Yes. Yeah.
But you just feel normal because it's obviously in your body and in your mind. So I become really lazy.
Isn't it?
It's true though.
Yeah, that's so toxic.
You don't know it's doing something to you.
No.
You do in a kind of way, but you don't realise to the full extent before until someone goes, listen, you haven't been doing this, and this.
So
like you become really lazy. Like I look back now and I'm thinking, I wasn't even me then.
No.
Like I didn't know who I was anyway, but
you certainly weren't that.
That's completely not me. Like it completely, like my mum got diagnosed with breast cancer and I didn't even cry. Like I didn't even feel anything, and I was like,
it's not normal, is it? It's not.
This isn't right.
It's not. It's such detachment, isn't it? And it would just make you think that the symptoms that you're trying to support and get rid of, is it worse to have nothing at all? I mean, it's obviously not great either in the spectrum, but there has to be some balance somewhere.
But it's not having nothing at all. It's you want these medical professionals who you put a lot of trust in.
Yeah.
To actually do their job.
Know what they're doing. Yeah.
Not just give you a 5-10 minute conversation and go away, because an ADHD diagnosis is like a 4 or 5 hour thing.
Yeah, they don't have the time
because they don't have the time, they don't have the money, and they don't have the actual understanding of what it is.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, it can't be ADHD. Like there's a lot of GPs, a couple round near me, who when I wanted to go shared care with my tablets, who were like, oh, you've got ADHD, and I'm like, you don't have a clue what ADHD is.
It's quite scary, I think, because I've had this conversation a few times, and I've had it with Maddocks as well, which is great because I have some real, credible medical professionals that are actually talking out about this now. Because, like you said, you put your faith and your trust, and you don't even question the fact that they're anything other than gods, the medical profession, because you do. That's what you're taught.
Yeah.
And in Western medicine, people will go through their medical training, and they will learn if that's a symptom, fix it with that. They look in the DSM. That fix it with that, and that's the way it goes. And then you have 5 minutes, and a lot of GPs will say to you they don't know anything about mental health because they're not taught. The head's chopped off the body. I'll treat your symptom, but we know, and when you look into sort of the psychotherapeutic stuff and these brilliant modalities, that's the wrong way around. It's the whole person that needs treating, their whole story, everything they've experienced, everything, and then you can get to the roots. And if you can get to the roots of what's driving the behaviour, you can remove it.
Yeah.
And it's a lifetime of healing then, isn't it?
Yeah. And obviously the NHS is very overwhelmed. Obviously COVID had a massive part to play in people's mental health.
Sure.
Did COVID make people's symptoms worse? Yes.
Absolutely.
It's probably given people mental health problems who never had mental health problems.
Trauma, massive trauma for people, everyone.
Like 2 years of not doing anything. We're not built to do nothing and stay indoors. Like getting your sunlight and stuff like. All right, we did have the nicest.
What community, what connection.
Yeah, having that. Yeah, and do you know what I found? People are rude now.
I know.
People don't know how to communicate to other people.
And kids as well, makes you worried, doesn't it? That socialisation.
Yeah, 100%. But like, the GPs, like they did it with me, fobbed me off with antidepressants. I went on 3-4 different types. So I was on SSRIs for a lot of like my teenage years, young 20s.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. Like it numbed me. Like each one was completely like different to each other. But like I said, you don't realise to the full extent. Yeah. Because you feel normal, because it's in your system, you can't really go, actually, this is really helping.
You've got nothing to compare to it. Well, you can't. You
haven't, but because you're feeling a certain way, your brain's like, right, this is how normal, this is my sort of normal. So then, obviously, I started on the Elvance, which completely changed my life, but the anger side was still there.
Yeah.
So that's when I seek the BPD diagnosis, which I knew I already have. I basically went in with a pad full of things going, I've got this. He's like, you've basically done all the hard work for me.
Yeah.
Right, he's like, right, we'll try you on this. Obviously, I already knew what I wanted to go on, but he did put me on a different one. He's like, I said, how come you're not putting me on, can't remember what it's called. He was like, I'm going to put you on venlafaxine.
Yeah.
So I was like, can that go with my Elvance? But he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, if you do, I'm only putting you on like a low dose. Obviously, you already know about serotonin syndrome, stuff like that, because I mentioned it. So it's
good though, doing the research. Not everyone does that.
No, yeah, you've got to.
Yeah.
You don't just want to. I don't trust doctors now.
No, I know, it's a sad fact, isn't it? A lot of doctors don't trust themselves now, which is sad.
Like I don't trust GPs. I don't like any sort of like medical setting anymore because of the lack of like dedication to me sort of thing, whether that's like...
Well, you're a number in a machine, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. Like, and there's a lot of people who are a lot worse off than I am, don't get me wrong, but if someone actually took a step back thinking, hang on, this guy's brain doesn't switch off. He's impulsive. He spends a lot of money. He does a lot of drugs. He drinks. His emotions are everywhere, which is what I told the doctors.
It doesn't take much of a leap from that, does it? If you are being honest about what you're experiencing.
But it's only like up until recently that people are starting to understand what ADHD or...
Do you think that's because of what we were saying before about the awareness? Because there's more trends now and it's more out there and it's more open.
Yeah, definitely. So
that's
SSRI, 100% it's a good thing. And obviously your work, my work, everyone else's work, like I've got a lot of people I speak to. Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of bad press because you see, I see certain people and I speak to quite regularly. They've been on like ITV or they've been on the BBC.
Yeah.
And you go in the comments and you're like...
Yeah, I find that tough.
How...
It's ignorance though, isn't it?
How ignorant
it's come from
that
ignorance.
people want to be just because you don't struggle with a certain thing.
Yeah.
No, not everyone's getting ADHD. No, not everyone's autistic. Like,
no.
30-40% of the world's population has it.
Yep. You
and
can't
about
deny it, can you?
80% of them people are undiagnosed.
Yeah. And just struggling to try and mask and hide their
own
symptoms.
Masking is exhausting.
Yep.
So SSRIs are obviously selective serotonin reuptake, something like that.
Yeah.
And the SNRIs is serotonin. Serotonin, but it's norepinephrine as well, which I've only just started being able to say.
Yeah, I know there's so much jargon, but that doesn't help either. So some of the stuff I'm doing with Mojo School is trying to get the information across that's the relevant bits without the jargon, without too much of the science, or that it's because it's too much. You're like, but you need to know what meds you're on. But sometimes there's too much information; it's overwhelming, isn't it? So just
did leaflets you get like that? You pull them out and they're like that big, and it's like this can cause mental health problems. You're like, I understand.
I'm going for that reason.
I understand they've got to put everything on a leaflet.
Yeah.
But it's just
doesn't fill you with much hope either,
and no
does
one
it?
reads the leaflets. No one reads the small print. Like,
no, they don't.
I go on Reddit quite a lot, like, because that's real people talking about certain things.
Yeah.
But yeah, my SNRIs and my Elvance really does help. Like, I was on 70 milligrams, I've now reduced that to 50.
Reduced down.
And when I've run out of the 50s, I've still got 20s left, so I've been taking 40. So I still feel all right on them. So I can...
But you'll learn, won't you, what works for you and how to manage your particular...
Don't get me wrong, like, I don't want to be on them forever.
No? You want to come off? You're gonna
maybe not the venlafaxine, because obviously BPD is...
Well, it is what it is, and you need to just keep stable, don't you?
But BPD is like one of the hardest conditions in the world to live with.
Massively, yeah.
And it really does keep me level.
As well.
Yeah.
Really misunderstood and not... And I think people are... When people become afraid of something, or they don't understand it, or especially if someone's symptoms behaviourally are frightening...
Yeah.
Rather than moving into it and learning more and trying to be supportive and working out, people just either get aggressive in return or just, I'm just going to avoid that. And it's wrong. Both of those things aren't right.
Yeah, 100%. But obviously, getting into like, I've done a lot of work on myself since my diagnosis, like, because I found there was no help.
How sad is that though?
100%.
Really
it's
sad.
Ridiculous. Like, here's your diagnosis. Everything does sort of make sense now, but you've got a million more questions.
Yeah.
There's some medication which is going to help. It's not going to fix you, or it's not going to be a cure. It's going to help massively, and it does help.
Yeah.
Whether people decide to take ADHD medication or not, that's up to them. It's everyone's got their own opinion, and that's fine. But the one thing, or the couple of things that really, really has helped me is chemotherapy.
Yeah.
So,
we'll
like
put some links
before.
up to that as well, I think, as well. Any links that you know that you can give, or I'm going to put them on.
Yeah, so chemotherapy, breath work.
Yeah, massive.
Finding you on the inside, like dealing with your emotions, not just numbing them with drugs or alcohol. Finding your people.
Yeah.
So surrounding yourself with like-minded, healthy-minded people, which is probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And setting boundaries for yourself, because people will set boundaries, but then they break the walls down to accommodate other people, and no, but you're still people pleasing to massive
Do you find
extent.
that, because this is obviously my thing. My thing is I'm like a recovering people pleaser, so a lot of what I do is based on my kind of. I always say if someone says they've completed life on expert level and they're the guru, they are lying.
Yeah.
But everyone can help as peers, and you can help support each other. So my big thing is my trauma drive from my childhood, which is raging fawn response, big people pleasing to keep myself emotionally safe. But that means that I come at the bottom of the pile because it's so important that everybody else is fixed. So that's my life's work. My inner child work is trying to balance that, but doing the good stuff, but not jumping over the line into people pleasing. So it's a constant little juggling act. But do you find that it's hard to put boundaries in place if you don't know who you are?
100%.
I think that's the hardest thing for people to learn is how can you? If you've not got your identity, you're constantly behaving on what you think somebody else wants you to do. It's the hardest thing, isn't it?
But like, you've got to, like, it's really difficult because you could potentially have been friends with these people for a very, very long time, or they could be family members, and their interests aren't about you. Like, they don't give a shit about your interests.
Everyone's looking to get their own needs met.
Everyone needs their own needs met, and whether they can do that themselves or they like not leech off people, but they take other people's energy and they're energy vampires.
Absolutely, mood hoovers and energy vampires, I call them. Mood hoovers.
You've got to sort of understand yourself to a degree. Like, you're never going to know yourself completely. Like, we all evolve, we all change as human beings. Like, you just go through cycles of, oh, I'm like this now, or something is I'm
experiencing this.
Yeah, I'm experiencing this, I'm experiencing that.
Ready to surf, I call it.
Yeah. But like, if someone brings you anxiety, or your body goes into fight or flight mode,
they're not your people.
They're not for you.
Yeah.
And regardless of who they are, you need to take, all right, some people you can't completely dismiss.
You can't detach, but the boundaries again,
that's where you put your boundaries up. You're like, no, when you start doing this, I'm going to take myself away and I'm not going to reply to you or something like that. Or you keep bringing up the past.
Yeah, it's not good for me.
And that's not me. I'm trying to get away from the past. Like, I've healed from my past now.
Are we going back in that?
Yeah, I don't want to go back into that rut. I don't want to go reminded of what I used to be like, or how much drugs I used to take, or how much I used to drink. Or
that's lowering again back into the space you were before. You want to be over there, don't you?
That's not me. And whether they like it or not, or whether they're doing it intentionally or not, that's a way of putting you down.
It is absolutely, because they're still in the space.
It's a little bit of an emotional blackmail sort of thing.
Emotional manipulation for sure, but then your boundaries is and this is the hardest pill for a lot of people to swallow, using the drugs analogy. Your boundaries are your responsibility. You've got to be accountable, haven't you? Because 100%. Nobody else is going to put your boundaries in for you. No. Nobody else is going to go, here's a boundary for you that's going to help you. They're always going to push to see what they can get, 100%. Because it's human nature. So you have to be the one to say, that works for me. That makes me feel, and it's your body's your best barometer, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you haven't got that emotional intelligence and you're used to running from your emotions, you don't connect in with your body to suss it out. Your body will tell you, that's bad for me, or that's amazing, that's lit me up. And it's learning how to work with that to suss out where you want to be, where you want to go, who you are, and who to surround yourself with. It's work. You have to do it, don't you? No one else is going to do it for you. You have to. So I got a question for you around school. What was school like for you, Dan? If you didn't get your diagnosis till late 20s, how did you navigate school?
So school, it depends what subject it was.
Okay, interesting.
It was like, if I enjoyed it, I thrived in it. Right. If I didn't enjoy it, I wasn't the class clown as such, but I just wasn't. I wasn't there. Like, nothing. You couldn't learn anything. Like, and there was a couple of times, like, the teacher, like English, it was all right. English got a B or a C. I can't even remember. I think it was like 3 different GCSEs: English, written, English, language.
I remember that. Yeah.
But like, one of them I got a B and one of them got a C in. But the teacher seemed to know how to. She wasn't.
So it's the teacher as well as the subject.
100%.
Yeah, I agree,
But teachers need to understand that not every single person can be taught to a certain way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And it doesn't matter whether we're neurodivergent or not neurodivergent. Like, everyone learns differently. And
and it's psychology 101. This is why it bothers me. The more I got involved with the education system, the more I started to learn, I was really shocked. And a lot of people say the same thing. When I found out that teachers, part of basic teacher training, they don't learn about the brain. They don't learn about learning styles very much. They learn a bit about Maslow and then forget about it. But how can you teach and impart knowledge if you are doing it from your filter and your learning style? There's no surprise then that.
But the reason that they're not teaching you how they want it. They're teaching you how they've been taught to teach.
And it's how to learn, not how to teach. How do you best learn? And if you're visual or if you need to do it practically, there has to be things in place for that to happen. That's the problem, isn't it? There isn't. Yeah. And then you're broken or you're bad or you're naughty. That's why some gifted teachers, and I don't know how they do it, hats off to all teachers, to be able to get out of that space and out of your own fight or flight response when you've got 30 kids all acting up, and to find ways with such limited resources to engage your whole class is
there's certain people I follow, and like there's some people who follow me, and a couple of them are teachers, And like watching them, they're like, people make comments and you're like, no, that's not how a certain person's going to be taught. And they do it in different ways that everybody, it feels included, which is like, you look at me, you're like, hats off to you.
So much. I mean, somebody said to me once, an education system that isn't fit for everyone isn't fit for anyone. And
no, it's not an education system.
It's not. Well, it's not.
Well, like we were speaking about before, Rockefeller.
It's set up for that reason, isn't it? It's set up. We know that. And we said this, and like a couple of people that I've done episodes with have touched on the same thing. So I'm like, there's more of us out there. The system, we all think the system's broken. But the system isn't broken.
Now, you know that.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're fine. We're of sound mind and body. Everything's cool. So
I wouldn't say sound mind, like.
Well, we're here. We're present. I think we are. And I've got a theory on that. I've got a theory on all of the weird kids, all of the people that don't fit, all of the neurodivergent kids, all of the ADHD, all of our brains that can sniff out bullshit at 10 paces and know that something isn't right. Yeah. And obviously then the label is you're naughty, you're bad, you're not kind, you don't fit in because we don't fit in with that narrative because we know it's not right.
You're trying to get out of the system.
It doesn't work. We know it's wrong. And that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because then you obviously get branded with the troublemaker. It's like, no, we just sniff out the bullshit.
Yeah. I'm just not listening to your lies.
Yeah, the system, you can
lies. You're lying to me. And I can sniff it out a mile away.
Yeah, 100%. I see that with everybody.
If someone's trying to be, you think everyone's like, oh, this person's really nice, and you just get this vibe off them. You're like, no, you're.
It is, and I'm dead interested to find out, like, energy-wise, because, that's my thing. My thing is energy work and all the woo-woo stuff that isn't really, because it's all science. Trying to suss out a lot of people I come across. Sometimes people are well in and they realise it and they're kind of on their spiritual journey anyway. But some people don't. I think I'm sure there's a similar theme with us, with that kind of tribe of people, that you feel people before they say something. Yeah. You can sense their emotional imprint and their energy, and you know what they're all about. And then when they open their mouth, it either matches and you go, cool, or it doesn't. And then you go, ooh, something's wrong here. And that's what happens a lot in society and in positions of power. People's energy doesn't match what they're saying. That's why I haven't got time for politics, even though I've just done a podcast on politics. Because, I just sniff bullshit out a mile off, and it's just, disengage. Yeah. But this is the problem, because then people who have these amazing, incredible minds, and I still think this is like a superpower, having these incredible minds, creative minds, critical thinking minds, questioning things, everybody ends up in some kind of trauma response of either substances, addicted to something to mask, to try and fit in with society that's broken, or like me, overwork and overcompensating. But that's so sad to me, because if it was just embraced, we're like the change makers, the people that could really make a shift and make a difference.
Like what are they called?
Which is dangerous.
The Indigo Children.
Yeah.
Do you know about them?
Oh, of course I do. I've known about the Indigo since I was about 12.
I've only recently found out what the Indigo Children are.
Indigo. So you need it.
So she like sees my energy and stuff. And I said to her, I was like, what's my energy colour? And she's like, oh, it's like I said, is it purple?
Indigo by any chance?
And she went, no, it's more of I said indigo. And she went,
bluey purple?
Yeah. And I was like,
yep.
I said to Nick, I was like, fucking told you on the
You're a change maker, I'm telling you. And it's hard. It's not hard. My language choices are going to be wrong here, because it's not hard. It's what we're here to do. You know what I mean? Once you get down that spiritual rabbit hole of understanding your purpose and your passion, and understanding all the challenges you've experienced to this point, you're like, oh, I get it. It's been a bit shit, but I needed all this because there needs to be people that will help the shift. And there are people that will put their head above the parapet, that will have honest conversations, that will graft against all the odds. Because let's face it, you wouldn't do what you do if you weren't passionate about it.
100%.
Like, fucking too hard, mate. Too hard, I can't do it.
Like a couple of months ago, I sort of threw my hand in a little bit. I was like, it's getting too much, blah, blah, blah. And then something shifted in me. But the second I stopped, I'm like, no.
I totally resonate.
So obviously I had to I'm currently going down the route of not rebranding, but restructuring everything.
You have to recalibrate and pivot a little bit, don't you?
100%, like we were talking about before. I just needed a break. I think.
Well, honestly, it is, for me, the computer game analogy just wins every time. You've done a level, fought the end of level baddie, pause, make a brew, reset, and like next level. Yeah. And then you're going to have learning again, and you never complete on expert level. That's the point. No. You just constantly develop, and throwing the towel in. People do that when they're so close to a breakthrough because it just gets too hard. But the power of the pause, that's what you need. Your body will tell you, whoa, it's too much, I'm overwhelmed. Just pause. It doesn't mean stop or quit. No. It's just assess, work out what my body wants, work out what's going on, and then often you just make that little micro move in a slightly different direction and you fly again. And then something else will happen and it's okay. It's all part of the
It's all
journey.
learning curve in it, and it's okay to make mistakes. Like, we are human, we are programmed to make mistakes. Like, you're never going to be able to
Well, like we were saying before, I think that's important, especially like I said to you from a man's perspective, because we've had this for a while now of boys don't cry and let's talk boys and all the mental health stuff. It's been the last 10 years probably. It's been a lot around male mental health, which it's just, it's important for everybody to be able to talk about stuff and get what they need and find their people and their tools. But it helps when you resonate. So there's going to be a lot of guys out there that maybe are looking for a diagnosis, or maybe some kids in school that are like, oh my God, that's what I feel like. So it's such powerful work to be able to say like, you're not on your own. It's, it will be okay. You just have to,
it takes time as well. Like, people want everything now and overnight. Like, when did I got diagnosed over 2 years ago now, and I still have shit I need to sort out. Like, there's so much stuff I've still got to deal with. But also you can only, like, people are like, oh, I'm going to stay single until I've healed. Like, sometimes you need to do the healing as much as you can. It's the journey, isn't it? That's your journey. You need to find yourself, and then obviously, I've met Nick as well, so like, I'm engaged now.
Congratulations! That's so cool. I'm so glad you're not saying, yes, I don't deserve happiness yet, so I'll wait until I'm healed, because you ain't gonna be, you're not gonna reach that point.
Like, you're never gonna, and people strive for this perfection, and perfection is impossible. Like, nobody's perfect.
It's unattainable.
And there's things you need that healing does when you're with the right person.
Well, they bring you the medicine that you need at that time, 100%. And you bring them, and it's collaborative.
But it's also like, they will trigger you, and obviously I probably trigger Nick to a massive extent, and she triggers me.
Well, that's what you need, I think.
But it is, but not to the degree where it's a massive trigger. So if she triggers me, she accepts how I can get.
That's how you learn about each other as well.
100%. And she's like, nothing scares me, like, nothing will scare me away, blah, blah, blah. So that's really like I feel safe with you. And
that's what you need, isn't it? From all your experiences.
And especially with like BPD and ADHD, like an abandonment thing.
Completely.
If someone withdraws from me, I feel abandoned.
That's
so that basically fuels my fire. I've already lost my shit. Like, that's just throwing fucking petrol on it.
I mean, you've landed good there. She sounds like a good one. That's what you need. Someone who's just going to understand, though.
She's ace.
Someone who understands and is going to be able to, even if they don't understand, that's the point, right? Yours is still going. It's fine. We're good. We've got another one. Even if they don't understand, and that's the point, they're not going to, because they're not in your shoes. It's having that capacity to think, I don't get this, and this is actually triggering me, but I'm still here. That's all you need. It's not the abandon. It's the let's just sit and process it.
And it's the way she comes and talks to me about things like, listen, I know what you did here was for a good reason, but that's really annoyed me, or you shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, that's like PDA. You don't go, you've done this, you dickhead. And I'm like,
don't do that again. You go, fuck off, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it even more.
Where it's like, she actually lets the dust settle, because she knows if I've done something, or I'm triggered, or I'm in fight or flight, like, she'll come to me like, when I've calmed down or something, and it'll be like, right, I know why you've done this, and I appreciate that, but blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, right, okay.
And that's reinforcing her boundaries as well.
But that takes in, you take that in so much more than someone coming at you and treating like, because I hate being treated like a kid.
Patronise.
So I'm like, don't patronise. And a lot of people in the past, probably because I've not known myself. And I haven't known myself, and I've been this person that they've wanted me to be, not who I've been as a person. Whereas now I've found myself, found my purpose in life, and my purpose in life is helping people, but to the extent where it doesn't debilitate me.
It's the balance, isn't it?
So I can give people my energy, but only to a point where it doesn't suck the energy out of me.
Got boundaries.
And I have to have boundaries.
It takes learning though, doesn't it?
But it does. It takes massive learning.
Totally resonate. And I'm always stepping over them, and I'm always testing, like, because I teach this shit as well, but I'll always get to the point where I'll kind of, and not forget, because I'm constantly mindful of it, but I'll have an opportunity or a situation, and I will leap over my own boundaries. But it's recognizing it faster for me. And then I'll, I used to have to get to a burnout, and then I'd go, oh yeah, that's what I did. Now I kind of recognize much quicker. And that's what I'm trying to do, is recognize quicker when my boundaries have got wobbly.
I bet you still put yourself in burnout.
I'm not as bad these days, because my
But if you get really excited about something, you want to do it. And then you're like, shit, I'm going into burnout.
But that's the point. You see, I recognise when I'm approaching burnout, my self-awareness with my body. I know what my triggers are. If I start to get headaches, so migraines were my thing. So I was hospitalised on 3 separate occasions. One of them, we thought I'd had an aneurysm. I was blue lighted in because I thought my head had exploded. It was horrific pain. But I kept saying to the doctors, I haven't got time for this shit. Fix me up. Fix me up. I've got 4 kids. I've got 2 businesses.
Yeah.
And they were going, I think we found the problem. And I'm like, no. And I wouldn't hear of it.
Yeah.
So that was me like 15 years ago. Now I'm a bit more like, okay, my eye's twitching. Stop. And that's hard because when
that's massive, that one, you know.
Massive. But when everyone around you, and this is the hardest thing, I hope this will be good advice, people around you are used to you being the old way. And if you were a massive people pleaser, you meet everyone's needs. And for people around you that love you and you love, it pisses people off because, well, why aren't you doing what you normally do? So it takes great self-awareness and strength of character for me. And the hardest thing for me to do, I like my husband, I don't even know whether my kids are still watching my podcast episodes. I know Craig. I'm
sure they probably flick. But
I'm going to make Craig watch this one. So the hardest thing for me was, because we've been together since we were 15 at school. I don't know how he's done it, but I think we both deserve medals in different ways. But he's seen the sort of the evolution of Jane, this like, he says I'm like a whirlwind. Like, fine, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But then I've always done whatever I can to keep everybody safe. So the point that came where I knew I had to look after myself and to just sit and think, I'm heading into burnout, I'm going to sit and do nothing. And everyone around just go, why are you fucking doing this? The guilt, the whole trauma response of shit,
massive,
so bad. Yeah. Like, no, I'm going to sit in the garden and read my book because that's what I need for my health. Because otherwise I'm going to be useless. I'm back in hospital. When other people don't realise that's what you're doing, you feel lazy, you feel guilty, you feel like you're letting people down. And then that safety.
Even if it's the people, like, it's only the people who are your people, like the family or what.
They get it.
Like, they get it. But if they don't get it and they're not your people. They are toxic.
Yep, you're right. There's a problem. And they're usually operating from their trauma drive. So as like a people pleaser, what you find is you get into a space, we said this before, with like codependency and counter-transference and all that stuff, where you are fixing and that person wants fixing and they don't want the tools. They don't want to do it themselves. So when you start to withdraw from that, especially when it's family, they're like, hang on a minute, you're my coping mechanism. So you have to put the boundaries.
That's unhealthy.
Really bad. Both sides. It's unhealthy.
Yeah, that's not a healthy way to live.
They're not healing at all, and you're just constantly in trauma drive. So making that move for me was really, really tough. And I guess I didn't articulate it. The one thing that I would go back and do differently is actually sit my family down, and because I just did it. And I didn't really talk about it, so it must have been really weird for me starting to behave so differently. But if I said,
but you were doing it, you were only starting to understand it yourself.
True.
And it was all fresh to you. So
true. Yeah. No, I
eventually, I'm sure they understand now. But like, they're like, right, I get it now.
They do now, especially now the kids are older, because the kids are like, they'll trip into some behaviour patterns, and we'll talk about it, and they'll go, ooh, this is because they've seen me. As a woman, they've seen me work 20 hours a day until I was sick and in hospital. So I thought, shit, my girls are learning that that's what women do. That's what you do. And my boys are learning that they just need to find a woman that will do that. So I was trying to make sure that I undid. And so it's good because then you start to talk about it. But when kids are little, you can't have those conversations. You model by behaviour, don't you?
Yeah.
But now they're older, I'm like, whoa, kids, I've just done some shadow work and realised that was absolutely shit. You shouldn't have seen me doing all that because that's not okay. You've learned bad boundaries. They haven't. They kind of, they're really, really good with their boundaries. But I'm hoping it's because they've seen what not to do. Do what I say, not as I do.
Yeah. Thing, Like you're trialing everything.
Yeah, I am. I'm the prototype, and then But again, it's communication and talking about things openly, isn't it?
Well, talking about everything is key.
It's massive, isn't it?
It doesn't matter whether you can, because sometimes I really struggle to get things out of how I'm feeling.
So to actually articulate
it. But it's just to find someone and be like, I'm feeling like this. I don't know why I'm feeling like this.
Yeah.
Probably going to take me a couple of days to figure out why I'm feeling like this.
Yeah.
Might not even be a reason. I might just be absolutely shattered.
Well, you don't need to know either. If you've got the right person, they'll just be like, well, that's all right. What do you need now?
Yeah. But even in myself, like before my ADHD diagnosis, if I was anxious, I'd need to be on my phone finding out why I'm anxious.
Yeah. Because safety seeking. I need an answer. Sometimes you just need to feel anxious. You hit on it before, but we weren't recording. So it's a good thing to go back to, is around feelings. And I'm so passionate about it. And it's a work in progress for me as well. But just acknowledging that we have to be able to learn to feel feelings, and we should be taught, and kids should be taught that anger is valid.
Yeah, of course it is.
We're taught, like look at parenting now. Kids are like, shh, tantrums are not encouraged. Like, have a tantrum.
Yeah, let it out, because you don't know how to act. Like,
they're feeling something.
I've been having tantrums since I was, and even after my ADHD
but if you
diagnosis.
Repress it.
Because that's what everyone's like. It's like, you have a tantrum. And I'm like, yes, it is a tantrum.
Because I can't get my needs met.
Because I can't get my needs met. And I don't actually know how to deal with what I'm feeling. Like,
and you don't know what you're feeling.
These emotions are like 10 times stronger than probably what a normal person feels.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to deal with it. And the only way I've learned
is this behaviour.
Is turn it to anger.
Yeah.
But then I push everybody away and I say the worst things, and I've done the worst things.
And then the abandonment kicks in, and then you think,
fucked it up.
I knew I was shit, and your saboteur goes.
And you basically just like...
You're in a loop then, aren't you?
Yeah, you just cement everything that you're thinking about yourself. It cements it, and you're like, well, this is what... Yeah.
And that little saboteur in your brain that doesn't shut off goes, see, I told you no good, told you no one wants to be around you, you do this to yourself, and then you're always going to be abandoned. And then you get that whole low self-worth, you're unlovable, you're never going to be happy.
I've been,
and all that negative self-talk.
I still get that now. That's what people don't understand. Like, people, you're never going to heal or fix yourself properly. You have emotions for a reason.
Yeah, It's discernment. It's your internal compass,
100%. And it doesn't matter how in tune you are with yourself, you're still going to have bad days.
Yeah, and if you
you're
feel
allowed
sad,
to have bad days.
We said that before, and that's the best bit of advice I think you can give is if you feel sad, feel sad.
Yeah.
And the whole conversation about labels as well that I've had with so many people, and we were saying before around, especially young people nowadays, because it's so, and again, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but whatever. It's not like I...
What are you going to get in trouble for?
Well, again, no, it's disagreements. The conversations around labels, people are really passionate about for obvious reasons. And I've had this for 10 years. I've spoken to people and recorded conversations. Are labels important? Yes and no.
Yeah.
If a label's important to you, like you said before, absolutely. I don't like to label myself or people because for me, I just don't like it. I feel like we are all just the same thing. We just need to help each other. That's it. But I understand the validity and the need for labels. What I can't get my head around, and I'm struggling to articulate and help people with, is the toxicity around so many labels at the moment. I'm not talking gender identity. It's a whole new topic. It's specifically around mental health. Is I've had a bad day today.
Yeah.
And you said it before, I have depression, I'm depressed. And the word is bandied around, I'm anxious, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
These are all human emotions that we all experience. You are supposed to get anxious. Yeah. You're supposed to feel a stress response. It helps you peak performance and navigate life.
If you didn't, you wouldn't have cortisol in the body.
Exactly. It's for a reason. It's how you use it, how you process it. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to feel depressed. But then we anchor onto this, oh my God, I've got depression, I'm depressed. No. And like you said, and as I know, having a bad day, feeling sad.
Having a bad week. It's not depression.
It's not depression. Clinical depression is a very different thing.
It's a serious problem.
Really serious, life-threatening problem. And if we don't get to grips with our language in society, I think the suicide rates are going to get even worse than they are now. They're rocketing anyway because it's too broad now. People are being missed because clinical depression, actual depression is very, very different. I've supported several people, family members included, through actual clinical depression. Yeah. It is not what a lot of people think it is. Just I'm having a shit time at work and I feel really sad every day. It's different. I can't even explain it. Or you're burnt out. There's things that you can recover from and you're just not listening to your body, or you're just having an experience that you're allowed to have. Yeah. Just feel sad. Just feel angry. Just feel, and then it'll change. Depression's different.
You get obviously you grow up, you get older every year. Like you change as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like your hormones change.
Yeah.
Your moods change. Your way of thinking changes. Like. You can support one thing one day and then support another thing the next day. That's a different.
And that's okay.
Different. That's all right.
Yeah, it's all okay.
Your thoughts can change. Your feelings can change. And even the people you hang around with can change. Like people on in your life. People don't have to be in your life for a whole book. No. Some people are just meant to be in there for a chapter.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
And some people are teachers as well. 100%. Even the people that come across and you have a bad experience.
Everything's your teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every experience should teach you, good or bad.
It's what you glean from it and how you use it, I think. And I see so many people that go in, I call them orbits or like train tracks, people that go around the same loops because they can't extract the lesson. And then they get so bent out of shape and think, why is this always happening to me?
That's what happens to me.
It's so common. And every time someone says to me, why is this always happening to me? I'm like, right, shadow work 101. If there's a recurring theme, type of person or type of situation in your life, it's you. You might not like to hear it, but it's something...
You're holding on to something and you put these people on pedestals, which I have done in the past.
Oh, yeah. Me too, yeah.
And then you can't live up to the expectations of yourself because you think this person wants you to be this type of way.
Yep.
So you mask and mask and mask until you get into burnout, then you get angry or you get anxious, and then the mask cracks.
Yep. And then your saboteur goes, see?
And then they're like, hang on, this person isn't who I thought he was.
Yeah. It's exhausting though, isn't it? Pretending to be something else and masking is exhausting. It is. You just need to find your light. And then it's like moths, it attracts the right kind of people, isn't it? It's true, your vibe attracts your tribe, but it's a work in progress. And I've got like 2 more, we could probably do like hours and hours worth of podcasts, but I've got 2 more questions. One is about drugs. We have to talk drugs. Okay. And then one is about attentive and the stuff that you've done, and what you've done to switch it around. So, because I know it's such a hot topic and everybody is coming to me actually at the moment. There's a lot of work around addiction and recovery. personal to me and out there in the community that I've been working with the last 2 years with a lot of people, a lot of the homeless community, a lot of prison leavers, people really, really traumatized and just reaching for whatever they can to mask. And there's so much ignorance around it and there's so much misunderstanding. Just what's your experience? Because obviously you're quite open about your experiences with drugs and how did it first start? Was it recreational, or were you just like, I need to mask and this is great?
No, it was purely recreational to start with, and it wasn't cocaine, it was MCAT. That's what I started with.
You right.
It gave you the best feeling in the world. Yeah.
Euphoria.
Yeah, it was euphoria.
That's seductive. That's hard to get away 100%. From. Once you've experienced that,
it's a massive dopamine hit.
How do you go back to?
And I've got ADHD, so my body doesn't create dopamine. Yeah. I need it. It's like shit.
There you go.
This is like dopamine in a line.
That's so hard to get out. But you know now that you can get dopamine. Elsewhere. You have so many ways you can get dopamine in your life. But
it was a quick fix.
It is the quick fix.
And it still is a quick fix.
Of course it is. It's the easiest way, but it's, as you know, so damaging. It's not a permanent fix.
Not just mentally either, like physically, like my nose is gone.
Knackered.
But mentally as well, like you don't really, like I've been off that stuff, well not MCAT, but cocaine for coming up to a year. Wow. And I haven't drank for nearly 2 years.
Really? That's big.
Honestly, my mental clarity.
Do you feel so different?
I'm a different person. Like even do you know what, I seen my grandma yesterday and she went, you're a completely different person. And do you know what? From anybody, that was like the biggest thing for me. And she's like, your granddad would be so proud. And
that's massive.
I was like,
yes. Feelings.
So it was like, that's good. That was nice.
That's really good. That just gives you that green light in the right direction, doesn't it?
But everyone said that to me. Like, and obviously, even Nick's like, I can't imagine you being this person you used to describe. And everyone else described you as, and I'm like, well, that person was real. Yeah. And that person was me.
Yep. Yep. You just pivoted.
There was parts of me which was me.
Yeah.
Like I had a heart of gold. Still have, I've got a heart of gold. But there was things I did and said and which was a defense mechanism or it was a trigger or without doing any work or any sort of like work on myself.
Not work, isn't it?
No, nothing. So, and then obviously it turned to cocaine, which was 3 times the price.
I was going to say that takes a hit on your pocket as well as you.
But everybody is doing it.
Yeah, it's so trendy, isn't it?
It's not trendy.
Well, it's not. It shouldn't be. But it's very much. You go to gigs, pubs.
You go anywhere. Like I could walk into well, I don't really go to many pubs anymore, but I could walk into a pub. I can guarantee there's people wanting it here.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
People have to do it to survive.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate because there's people who can do it recreationally and aren't addicted to it and they can take it or leave it. And I sort of despise them people a little bit because I'm like, you fucking.
Well, how can you?
You had a good time, but it was getting to the point with me where I was doing it on my own. It wasn't. I didn't want to do it to party. That's not fun, then, is it? That's not fun. No, but I was hearing things.
Yep.
I thought people were going to start breaking into my house, coming to raid the house, the police. So I'd end up with £200 worth of coke on my desk in my office, barricaded in. Paranoid, watching my cameras, and it was instant paranoia. And that's psychosis.
It is psychosis. That's just such a bad way to live, though, isn't it? Now you're out of it. That's must have been such a horrific way to live.
Yeah, but even like I said to you before, I remember every time I got on it, how bad it was and what I'd do, thinking the next time it'll be different, I just won't do it like this. Instantly, 2-3 lines in, boom, in my room. I'd disappear from the world, turn my phone off, wouldn't want to speak to anyone.
What makes you, I'm really fortunate that I've got different kinds of addiction. Work was always my thing, and that's obviously my lovely burnout stories. But I don't drink, never really drank. And I don't use any substances and never have. Sometimes I'll smoke a cigarette if I'm feeling rebellious. But so I can't relate, but I work with so many people and I understand. I'm so empathic that I can kind of feel the trauma from people. But what is it? Because I can't understand in my own brain because I can't relate. Even though you know how bad it is, what is it that keeps you coming back for more? Is it that you just have to escape? You have to escape. So there's no choice. I need that right now. I'll deal with the consequences later.
Yeah. It's the escape and it's the feelings of what you're feeling and not understanding why you're feeling things. It was a numbing. I can numb myself.
Yeah. I don't want to feel this, so I'm going to run away from it.
Or boredom.
Boredom. Yeah, you said that before.
Lack of dopamine. Yeah. That's obviously something to do with ADHD.
As well,
there's a lot of people with ADHD who have a substance problem. Yeah.
And that's obviously why, isn't it? Because it's what am I reaching for? What am I reaching for? But that's having a bad toolkit. That's your tools, isn't it? And once you've got different tools and you think, right, what do I need? I'll do this, this, or this.
Yeah.
It's just having different tools.
Like I wish I could say like I met Nick and I stopped doing it. No, I'd stopped before I'd even met Nick.
Yeah. You're already on that journey.
So I was already on that journey, and don't get me wrong.
So she doesn't know any of she doesn't know you as that person at all?
No, not at all. And I don't even recognise the person I was now. I look back and I cringe hard. Yeah. Do you?
Here's a good question. Here's some real deep shadow work. Have you got any gratitude for that person?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Because the learning.
If I hadn't have been that person, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah.
But that's another thing people need to learn as well. Like, you can let go of your friends, you can let go of your family, you can let go of all these toxic entities. The biggest toxic entity to you that you need to let go of is your old self. Because your old self has kept you alive.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. Like, you have stayed alive because of this person you've been. Like, you've molded yourself into this person, regardless of whether you're arrogant, cocky, like I was, full of yourself. Like, this person's may help you survive.
You did what you needed to do to stay alive.
Yeah, and that's 100%. Basically all you are. Like, you want to stay alive, regardless of how many drugs you were taking, whether you're taking uppers and downers to try and stop your heart. Like, you were still this person.
Yeah.
And that isn't an easy cycle to break either.
It's so hard. It takes such courage, doesn't it?
Because it's not just you. It's like the people you're friends with are like, oh, come on, remember how fun you used to be? Or remember this, remember that? And I'm like,
how do you
but do you remember how bad my head used to be?
Do they remember that though? Or do they just remember the fun bits?
They just remember, well, that wasn't fun.
No.
I used to sit on my phone after I'd had a line. Like it's an amphetamine. So
it wasn't even that you were
ADHD medication is an amphetamine, which makes my brain slow down and stops the voices in my head. So I was doing it also probably
just to try
and quiet my mind.
Yeah, calm your mind down.
So if everyone was like chatting my head off, and I'm just like sat on my phone, just chilled.
Just give me a bit of a break. Just,
I'd had a spliff.
Yeah, just numb you down. Yeah, it's brain chemistry, isn't it? It's brain. But I heard something that I found really interesting, that you know who your real friends are when you get sober. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, 100%.
I find that really interesting, that you think you've got mates, but actually they just want to get on it with you, and you realise when you get sober, the ones that stick with you are your people.
And you don't realise when you leave school, you don't need a million friends.
No, I know. Isn't that,
And my dad used to say, you won't have loads of friends when you're older. If you ask my dad how many friends he's got, he'll say none.
Yeah, my husband's that is like one hand, keep your circle close. He says it all the time and he's right.
And it is genuine. Like, the older you get, like, kids will look at this and be like, oh no, like I've got loads of mates, I'm more popular. Yeah. Being popular isn't cool. No. Because and having multiple personalities for different groups of friends is also not cool. No. Just be you. Whoever gravitates to you, and they're your people. And whoever doesn't, because you're not this fun person, even though you're having fun in yourself, like,
Do you? It's the best
advice.
Fuck
everyone else.
It's the best advice, because but it doesn't feel like it at the time. You feel
it's
like
hard
you
when you're
to.
A people pleaser.
It's hard
because you want to please everyone else but yourself.
And it's hard when you're a kid, because you're trying to find your identity, trying to fit into something, but you just don't.
You want to be liked because you think I don't want to be this person who's going around school.
I won't be abandoned. It all comes down to abandonment and shame and guilt and all the horrible emotions that we don't want to feel. But if we just feel them. Feelings are meant to be felt, and then you can kind of process them. Something interesting before I ask you to talk about what you're doing now, just FYI, Human Givens Institute, have a look at them. I'll send you the link later. Because I found this really interesting around men and mental health, and the assumption that women are more emotional than men.
No.
And I was doing a bit of training with them in some research, and the science around men's brains is that men feel emotions way more strongly than women. Ironically, but it makes so much sense, doesn't it? Yeah. So the assumption is that there is just a lack of emotion, but it's the too much, and you said that yourself, feel it too much.
It's probably a bit of testosterone levels as well, because your testosterone goes, which means your adrenaline. If your testosterone's raised, your adrenaline goes. And as a man, like, we are the protectors as such.
You can't be weak, you can't be vulnerable. That's what society says. It's bullshit, we know that.
But even like back in the day when we were cavemen, like the women would stay at home and look after the kids. Well, we'd go out in danger. Yeah. And that's how evolutions happen.
Women were we were designed to be in social circles.
It's the same with monkeys, like that's how it is. And we are basically a monkey.
We're animals, aren't we? It is, and it's that. And we've gone so far ahead of ourselves with technological advancements that our emotional selves cannot keep up. And that's the problem, especially for men, I think. Too much emotion that they're feeling and no outlets. And society's not geared up to support that or meet the needs. So you just have to put the mask on, stiff up a lip. Let's just get on with it, because I'm responsible for everybody else and I have to be the strong one. So my needs aren't important. And it is such bullshit. Yeah. Everybody's needs are important and everybody needs their support squad. and everyone needs to be strong at certain times and also vulnerable at certain times. It's dancing the dance, isn't it? And
100%. But it's feeling safe to be vulnerable.
And that's hard,
a lot of men don't have that safe because there's not everybody, like there's a lot of very, very nice women out there, but a lot of women want this manly man.
Yeah.
And they don't know, and then as soon as you show a little bit of vulnerability, you're too nice, you're too kind, or it's like, no.
Good point. Do you think that's because they don't feel safe?
Possibly. But they haven't,
interesting, isn't it?
That's their own trauma.
Because they haven't got their own stability to be able to, they're looking for someone else to fix and protect. And
another thing is as well, like people's reflections on you and how they think is nothing to do with you. That's their own shit that they need to deal with. So if you think someone doesn't like you, whatever. If they don't like you, they don't like you.
It's not your business.
That's their own shit to deal with. Like, you do you.
Yeah.
If people gravitate, as long as you're not being a knobhead.
Yeah, just be a good person.
Just be you. Be a good person. Like, it doesn't have your manners, do all this good stuff.
Yeah.
But make sure you're happy and make sure your body isn't in fight or flight mode 24/7.
Yeah.
Because regardless of who you're going to piss off, as long as you're being a good person, who gives a shit?
It's true. And it's
you're never going to be everyone's cup of tea. And that, regardless of if everyone was the most genuine, down-to-earth person in the world, someone's not going to like
I'm going to show you a tattoo. Oh, where is it? One of my tattoos, my Dita Von Teese one. It's on here somewhere. I can't even find the bit, but there's a peach on there, right? So this is my Dita Von Teese quote. You may be the ripest, juiciest peach on the tree, but there's always going to be someone who hates peaches.
Yeah,
and I thought, do you know what? That is my reference to actually, you can't please people. That's my people pleaser tat. Someone's always going to have an issue with you. And that was such a good bit of therapy for me when I finally, only a few years ago, started to realise if somebody has an opinion on me, on my work, on my style, on what I do, that is none of my business. No. It's nothing to do with me, what anyone's opinion is at all. And that was such release for me because it got me out of that, they don't like that, I better change it for them. And then, that person doesn't like that. And I had to do like 5,000 different things.
Some people actually just want to trigger you because they want a reaction, because they want this perception of you in their head. They want to show everyone, this is what he's really like. It's like, hang on, you've just triggered the fucking life out of me.
But when you step out of that,
you're clever enough to understand my triggers.
Yeah, you know.
But you also know how to fucking trigger me.
Yeah, you know the buttons to push, and you do it intentionally.
Stop striving for perfection as well, because you are never going to be perfect. And if you want perfection, once you get there, if you ever did, which you're not, you're going to look for another perfection because it's never going to be perfect for you. And nobody's perfect. Nobody on this planet is perfect.
No.
And anyone who says they are liars, and they are the ones who probably struggle the most with their self-image.
Because it's such a mask, isn't it? It's such a mask. We see that in the fashion industry all over the place. It manifests.
Look at bodybuilders; they have body dysmorphia probably more than anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's all covering for something, isn't it? And that's the essence of mindfulness, isn't it? It's actually being present, and it's really hard to be present. It takes practice.
Just be fucking humble as well.
Humble, happy, compassionate.
Yeah.
And have boundaries, because sometimes I mean I'm all about compassion is my biggest thing, but then if you have compassion with no boundaries,
people will just take the piss, take you for a ride.
And there's no balance, and
there's always going to be people to take like
absolutely,
and people aren't always going to live up to how you feel or how you love. Like you love how you want to love.
Yeah.
Just because they're not living up to the expectations of how you think they should love you, look for the little things like look what they do, or look at this, look at that. Because no one can love everybody the same.
No, it's so different, isn't it?
We're all individuals, and we're all individual. Like, you are not the same as anybody else. Why would you even want to be the same as anybody else?
We've all got this really unique recipe, which I think, and that's what makes me sad about society, because I love that about people. And I
used to be like that. I used to want to be like everybody else. I wanted to have the
flock response.
Yeah, 100%.
But safety seeking is abandonment. It's like, if I'm the same as everybody else, then I'll be safe and I'll be chosen. And that's people pleasing for me. That other one. Flock response, I never ever for some reason went in for. I purposely wanted to be different. I don't know why that is. I just wanted to be different. But at the same time, I wanted to please everyone, which is a bit of a contradiction. But you have to find what lights you up. Find you, find your people, find your vibe. And that's what helps you find peace. But recognizing it takes time, it takes work. You have to do the work. No one else is going to do it for you. And then when you do it, it's being comfortable with the fact that that's not going to make you have a life full of perfect social media highlights. You're still going to experience
You're still going to have ups and downs, and you're still going to have
you've got to be okay with that,
grief, and you're going to. But it's how you come out of it, because you started to understand yourself, and you understand if you're triggered, how you're going to react, and it's avoiding triggers.
Yeah, it is.
So getting rid of people is avoiding triggers for you, so you don't become this person you were.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got triggers, and everyone can be triggered.
Yeah.
Even the nicest people could be the worst, nastiest people going.
Yeah.
And I think it shocks people a little bit, because the nicest people are normally the worst people when they're angry.
Oh, yeah. I'm a good example. I'm like candy floss. I am like...
Trigger me and
I'll take 5 counties with me, but it's so rare.
Because I absorb everyone's feelings and I can take... I remember things.
Yeah.
So if you trigger me and you want to come at me, I'm going to knock you down in 10 stories, but I'm going to hit you so hard, you're never going to forget
because I've saved it all up and I've got all this. Yeah, totally.
If you're nice to me and you're genuine it's never going to come out.
The same goes the other way though, doesn't it? You give so much energy. If it's reciprocal, you can be such a great person, but if you're triggered the wrong way, you can turn all that energy into real bad stuff, which is the process of what you've been working through.
Well, nothing I tell you is going to be a lie. It's all going to be the truth. But it's up to you whether you want to listen to any of it.
True, yeah.
And to how much of a bad person I am for saying all this to you. But everything I have mentioned is honest.
Yeah. And that's
if you do all your work on yourself, you think, fucking hell, everything he's just said is true.
Yeah. That's the irony though, isn't it? When you're trying to help and support people. And that's why my passion is now, like I said to you before, it's the tools.
Yeah.
I can't be in a space where I'm trying to fix, because that's my trauma drive. Giving people tools, when they're ready, they will use them. You can't force somebody who isn't ready to heal to heal. That is the frustration when you...
And some people don't want to heal.
They don't want to heal, no. And you have to be all right with that. So I think when you've come to a certain level like we have and you've done a lot of healing, you're so excited for people to feel better. And you're like, oh my God, you don't have to be this way. You don't have to feel like this. And you really want for them so much to be in that space. If they don't want it, it's their journey.
Yeah, but it isn't your job to fix people.
Nope.
Or heal people. Or you can only give people so much energy.
Yep.
So whether they use it, if they don't use it, you've got to pull back. Because it's going to drain your energy.
Yeah.
Then people want to drain your energy because then they feel better.
Yes, their needs met.
And then you feel like shit and you're like, fucking hell, why do I feel worse than this person did when we first started?
But they've not had the tool. Then that's why I kept falling into that for years and years. And I thought I was doing the right thing and good stuff. But then I realised that person actually isn't healing because they keep needing to come back for more.
Yeah. And they're just draining you with energy.
And I'm not doing them any favours because I'm actually fixing the problems for them. Yeah. And you can't do that. You have to give the tools and a bit of coaching, a bit of support. But the boundary has to be.
But they've got their own feelings and they've got their own emotions, and their own emotions is what drives healing. You've got to understand your emotions and why you feel certain ways and deal with triggers.
Yeah, you've got to know what your triggers are. You've got to know what your emotions are and label them. You said it before.
And that's not fucking easy. You're gonna go down some dark places.
They wait to be felt, don't they? I'd love to be able to teach kids that actually, if you want to have a tantrum, because feelings are meant to be felt.
Even saying something like, it's okay that you're feeling like this. Reacting in this way isn't okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What you're feeling is valid.
Yeah, it's all right. You feel like that. What do you need right now to make you feel better? And if it's something you can do, do it.
And that's something I say to all. I quite a lot. And
it's all right. You can feel like that.
I understand why you feel like that, and how you feeling is valid. Your reaction isn't
not okay. Yeah.
And I think he gets me on a level because I'm like,
good parenting.
I'm like, mate, I've lived what you're living.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to get into the 11-year-old's head because they know everything.
Of course you do.
I'm like,
you wait till he's in his teens and then you're like, oh.
Don't, because I know what I was like.
He'll be like, calmer. But you've got such good wisdom to share now, haven't you? And as long as you have that viewpoint of, do you know what? You're feeling something right now. All behaviour is just communication. Try not to get triggered. Yourself, because it's not easy. You just get triggered and you go off like a bottle of pop, but thinking, right, you're feeling something right now. What is it? Do you know what you're feeling? And you know from your therapy anyway, where is it in your body? What is it? Can you name it? Where is it? What colour is it?
It's when he's like, it's when he's like, backchats to Nick or he gets cocky and I'm like,
oh, trigger. Yeah.
That's my missus. I understand it's your mum. But then there's another thing and I'm like, but I know why you're doing it. It's because you feel safe around your mum. And I'm like,
it's hard.
It's so difficult. And I'm like, I wish I had someone like you.
I know. Well, that's exactly why we're here, isn't it? Is the fact that we can pay it forward by doing our inner child work, doing our healing, and being that person for yourself for starters. And then when you are that person for yourself, trying to then be there for other people. And help them move forward. So that brings me beautifully. I have no idea how long we've been on for, but probably longer than I thought. To your brand and to what you've been doing, because I love it so much. Will you just explain? I know your audience will already know, but mine won't. Why you did it, how you came to do it, and what it's all about.
So, I got diagnosed with ADHD in March 2022. Got rid of my ex-girlfriend because she was a negative. The first thing. It was,
negative influence.
But we also had a dog together, and obviously getting rid of the dog was harder than getting rid of her.
Yeah, I bet.
But it had to be done.
Yeah.
Because in order to grow, you have to learn to let things or people who don't belong in your life, regardless of how they are or whatever, like we weren't working. Do you know what I mean? And I was going off on a completely different journey to what she wanted, and having a diagnosis and starting to understand myself like that just sort of came. So I was like, right, okay. So come September that year, 2022, I wanted to start a clothing brand. I wasn't very comfortable on camera, but now I am.
Get to learn, don't you?
But that's another self-confidence thing, which is like, fuck it. If people want to criticize me, let them criticize me. That's more about them.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm doing for a good reason. Started Attentive, started selling clothing. Then it turned to like a sensory-friendly clothing brand for people with like sensory needs, like who are autistic and ADHD and who have SPD. And then fast forward a little bit, turned over, it grew exponentially.
It just exploded, didn't it?
It fucking went mental.
Because it's so needed.
And obviously my videos of like, I wasn't just, here's my clothing, blah, blah, blah. I was doing videos, still do videos.
Your story.
Of my story, like, and what people don't realize is you can have a brand, but people need to invest in a brand, and the brand is me. Yep. People wanted to invest in me, if that makes sense. Yep. And as soon as I stopped doing videos due to burnout or whatever, sales went down, and I'm like,
interesting, isn't it?
It's like people
want you.
Me.
They want you. I get it.
Obviously, fast forward to November. Met Nick. Sales obviously dropped throughout the new year, and I was just like, you know, when something you think, right, I need to.
What am I doing?
I was going to just close it down.
Yeah.
But I didn't, and sold everything off. And I was like, obviously I wanted to spend as much time with Nick and the kids as possible. Wanted my garage back to turn into like a bit of a lad's pad for me and all. Get a projector up and stuff like that. And I'm like, how can I do stuff and still sell my clothing?
Balance.
But not do all the mundane stuff and procrastinate over packing orders and stuff like that. Yeah. So hopefully I've got a way forward.
I think you have.
I'm not going to rush it because I want it to be right.
And that's new for you, isn't it?
Massively.
So it's like, this is like putting your new learning into place.
Attentive was impulsive. And I wanted to help people, and I wanted to get my message out there, and I wanted to show people what I've been through, but I rushed it. I had 1,000,001 items in my thing, this, that and the other. Now I've had it for 18 months. I've made all the business mistakes that anyone's going to make who's impulsive. You just spent
50 grand on business school to learn the shit that you just learned.
Oh, 100%, yeah. So it's like, right, I know what to do now. I know how to do it differently. I know how to pull back. So I'm like, right, I know what to do now.
Power of the pause. Power of the pause, just to reassess it, and then it'll fly in another direction. It's just, I just love it. I love it because, I mean, it makes me sad at the same time that it exploded so quickly because so many people need your story. Yeah. They need something that's going to make them feel good. The sensory aspect, it's just, I don't know anything else out there that does that. And I hear it so much when I'm working with alternative education provision and with kids and in schools that a lot of, it's the sensory stuff that has massive impact. And being forced to wear a uniform that it just harms them. Yeah. It makes me really sad that that's a necessary thing, but it just shows the level of need out there for what you're doing.
But it shows the level of how much I needed Attentive as well.
True.
Because the growth I've had.
Yeah.
I've had my ups and downs, like I've had burnout, stuff like that. But like the growth in 18 months for me, from meeting people, speaking to people, making new friends,
getting on camera,
cutting people off, getting on camera.
New relationship, it's massive.
Well, I met Nick through Attentive, so I would never have met her either.
That's a big, massive learning curve, isn't it?
It's like my whole life's completely changed. And me as a person haven't changed. I've become me.
Yeah, you found yourself.
I've found myself, and I've become who I've always wanted to be.
Yeah, who you've always been.
Without,
it's just been
without even, I don't try now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to.
It's not as exhausting, is it?
It's not exhausting. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Just being, and everyone's like, how do you unmask? How do you do this? It takes time. Like, I don't really like the word unmasking.
No.
Like, just become yourself.
I find like we resonate with a lot of the things that we say. I find that a lot of people are just desperate for that fix. And they'll ask, won't they, how do you do this?
People don't need to be fixed.
No,
people aren't broken.
And they're not lost.
And people don't need to be fixed.
Yeah, I agree.
You need to heal with things. And people are like, oh, I haven't had any traumatic experiences. Like I said to you before.
Everybody has.
I went to chemotherapy, and my abandonment come from being stuck in a lift as a child.
You would never have thought that again, probably.
why would I ever have revisited that?
Because it was stuck in your body from that point.
100%, yeah.
It's trapped emotion that was never moved through. And I heard another good resource as well around why some people experience trauma with certain things and certain people don't. Because you can have people who had horrific experiences as children and breeze through, and other people who really have, and they feel so guilty that they've had a really good childhood and yet they're struggling so much. And we have to break that out completely.
It's not what your parents aren't bad people. They were doing the best they could with the tools they had at the time.
Exactly. There's no blame. Like, that's the problem.
No one's being blamed. Like I said all this to my mum, and she's like, my mum and my dad, and they're like, oh, but we loved you all up. And I'm like, I'm not saying you didn't. You have given me the best childhood that you possibly could. I didn't know I had ADHD. You didn't know you had ADHD. Like, they blame themselves. I'm like, no, it's no one's fault.
It's not. It's just
the NHS's fault.
Yeah. It's things that could have been in place that weren't. But the emotional needs side of things is what fascinates me, because the theory of trauma that gets trapped in the body and emotions that are trapped that you then have to like the lift thing that you process, it's having a person there at the time to help you process that emotion as it happens. And that seems to be the key difference. If whatever you're going through, if you have the tools and the people are able to help you through that emotional experience at the time, it leaves your body. And that's just a memory there, and you're like, oh, that happened, that was shit. If you don't have the tool or the person to help you navigate that emotion, your body gets stuck. And I can see that is the difference with a lot of people. Doesn't matter what the trauma is.
Massively. And if you need a hard reset, you need a hard reset. If your computer freezes or your laptop freezes, just turn it off at the wall. People need that too.
Such a good analogy.
People
Control, Alt, Delete, start again.
Like, we do.
Yeah, we do. It's really true.
Take yourself off, and everyone's like, oh, I don't have time. Well, you need to make time. Like, I understand people have lives, they have kids, and they're on their own or whatever. You need to make that time, whether it's when the kids have gone to bed, whether it's when the kids have gone to school, do something that makes your body feel safe, or gives you that release of like, oh, I feel good doing this. Because your endorphins and everything, serotonin, norepinephrine, all that thing, that's your feel good
all chemical. It just gives
you need it because it does even you out and levels you out.
Evens out your brain chemistry, and
get outside, go for a walk.
Yeah, anything, music,
10 minutes, go sit by water, because I can guarantee there's nobody who can watch this can say to me, regardless of whether you're on ADHD medication or not, or your brain's constantly on the go, you go and sit by water, go to the sea.
Water's great.
You can't hear anything.
Yeah.
In here goes quiet.
It just stops, doesn't it?
You can't hear a thing if you're by water.
Yeah. Water is so healing. It's so underestimated and so healing. And there's a saying, isn't there, that make time for your wellness or be forced to make time for your illness. It's so true, isn't it? You've got to do it. Even if you think you haven't got time. And I was the worst for that. Never had time until I burnt out, and then my hand was forced then.
And if you're at water, take your shoes off, go for a paddle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ground yourself.
Feet on the earth, feet in the water. The elements, I've got a whole course on the elements actually and how to work with them just to help your health. It's massive. So I got 3 more questions. We'll do quick ones, but we probably won't. It'll be like another hour for each question. Right, so
Nick's like, where are you?
Like, I'm coming, I'm just doing some good shit. So first question is a big one. One sentence, if you can do it. Okay. What can we do to change the world? Big question. What can we do to change the world? How do we do that? How does the world change?
Embrace everyone's uniqueness.
Nice.
So not everyone's going to learn the same. Not everyone's going to want to work the same. Everyone does everything differently. Like, don't just do it one way. There's millions of ways. Doesn't mean whether you're right or wrong.
Beautiful.
You have to embrace everyone's way of thinking or way of doing stuff.
Such good advice, because if everyone does that for everybody else, the world changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everybody does it.
They don't want the world to change like that, do they?
No.
They want everyone to be like this. Oof. They don't want you outside the box.
Regimented. Do as you're told. We don't do that. We break out of that.
Yeah.
Second question. This is like small scale now. One piece of advice, because this is called The Art of Feeling Better, this podcast. One thing that people can do right now in their life, small thing every day that you can do to help yourself just feel better. What's one of your tools?
Stop mouth breathing.
Brilliant advice. Wasn't expecting you to say that. Yes.
Stop mouth breathing.
Learn how to breathe.
Yeah. You breathe properly through your nose, your oxygen levels increase, which means brain fog decreases, you feel better, you feel more alert, you feel more awake.
Brilliant.
You weren't expecting me to say that, were you?
I wasn't. And I happen to have a
anymore.
breathwork course at Mojo School specific, because it's hard, isn't it? And people think, I know how to breathe, I'm alive. You don't. You're not breathing at all. So having that skill is amazing. Yeah. Even if you don't do specific breathing for a certain amount of time in the day, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Brilliant advice. Learn how to breathe. Learn how to breathe properly. Yeah. Learn how to breathe. Use your nose.
And then when you do it, you can't stop doing it.
No, because you feel the benefits immediately, don't you? Especially when you really expand your lungs. Yes, stop mouth breathing. And then the last question. This is and I'm glad I didn't give you too much notice actually, because I know you would have been overthinking it. I'm putting together a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
The Art of Feeling Better. And I'm asking everybody, what's the feel-good song that if you are feeling like shit, what do you put on to make yourself feel better?
Forgot About Dre by Eminem. Dr. Dre.
Straight away, you didn't even have to think about it.
That's my go-to song.
Okay, nice. Okay,
and I know all the lyrics.
That is going on there then. I've got such a mishmash of songs right the way from like the 50s to now. Somebody put Driving Home for Christmas on.
Nice.
Even though it was like May, because it's their feel-good song. It's brilliant. We've had so many different things. So that is going on the Spotify playlist. Now I need to get you home now to your lovely family. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. There's so many good things to come, I think. We're going to see how we can collab and do a bit more work together. So yeah, I'm going to get that song on the playlist, and then I'll put all the links that you want me to put on. Yeah.
Send me a link to your new school as well, and I'll obviously tell everybody how I've basically healed myself without even doing it through your school. But obviously I'm going to go on it, have a look, and
you get the good stuff. There's so much good stuff on there. So yeah, but together we just do what we do, don't we? And we'll support each other.
I've basically done it, haven't I? And then I've met you, and you're like, "This is what I do." I've done all that.
You have all the things you were talking about. Imagine if you'd had that, just a button on your phone, just to have the resources. So hopefully, if we can get them resources out, so people can just access them 24/7. Maybe they won't have to go through all of the...
And it's expensive as well, going to chemotherapy, having all these therapies, and even the breath work was like £150 for 3 sessions. It's not cheap. I'm in a very fortunate position through my job where I do earn a good wage, so I can do it. Yeah. I've got ADHD, so I was going to afford to do it anyway. Yeah,
you were going to spend the money. Oh, I'm going to have that. I'm going to do 6 hours.
But it's not expensive, and obviously you've got everything all rolled into one course. And the 5-minute videos, and you don't have to do anything. And like you say on some of the videos as well, if you want to skip it or it's not resonating, if you just skip it, go to another course. No one cares.
No expectation, no judgment, because it's person-centered. It's you finding your toolkit. So I've put I think it's 500 resources on there, 500 tools. So you just wade your way through and have fun. It's like Netflix for self-help. And then you just build your toolkit without anybody pressuring.
One thing helps. Yeah. You found something that helps. And then go exploring down that road. Go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's an exploration, isn't it? It's
because I can guarantee you come out of the other side very spiritual, like I have. Everyone's like, why have you got so many crystals around? I'm like,
why have you got
this one's for that, that was for that. Why have you got black ones everywhere? I'm like, well, that's
we need the black. I've got tourmaline everywhere. You see, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Keeps the negative energy away.
Get rid of all the negatives.
And it cleanses you of negative energies, which I have done over the last
18 months. I have got grids in my house with stuff pointing in different directions. I've got tourmaline on the windowsill. You
don't have to be a hippie either. It's just
new age.
And you listen to the universe. The universe is always talking to you.
Yeah. People don't listen and they don't watch, do they? So the signs are always there.
Start looking for numbers. Start looking for number correlations, because I can guarantee you will not stop seeing them.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that, because this may or may not go in the final cut, but I talk about it a bit actually. Everything's based around numbers. Yeah. So I have 4 quarters of the school. Courses are priced they're supposed to be 111 quid, but they're now 44 quid, and they're specifically around numbers. The subscription at the moment, the offer for the full school curriculum, it's usually $16.99. It's 888 because the 8s are around abundance.
I like 88.
So I'm going with the 88s to people can get the special offer. So everything is around.
Got them on my fingers.
There you go. It's all around numbers, 1s and 8s. So it's very specific. People are like, it's a weird number. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It all if you know, you know. It all means something. Thank you, mate. Thank you so much. Bring it in, mate. Thank you. And we will do loads of good work together. I can feel it.
I'm sure we'll have another podcast soon.
Definitely. We've probably got 3 here.